We are fortunate to have a variety of speakers for Sunday services. By using guest speakers, we gain wisdom from all those who share. This is a church where we can worship the God of our own understanding, a place to experience joy and be uplifted, a place where we can gain strength and inspiration to share with all we meet throughout the week. We invite you to join us in the celebration of life, to nourish your spirit, and to enjoy the company of kindred souls.
Amen. Thank you, ma'am. All right, so at this time, we will be singing our opening song, which is Let There Be Peace on Earth. And if you're looking for the words, you can find them on the white card in the hymnal. And now we'll have Kremena do our opening prayer.
Let us take a moment to arrive, and whatever has brought us here this morning, joy or sorrow, certainty or weariness, gratitude or confusion, let us allow ourselves to be here just as we are. May we remember that none of us arrived here alone. We come carrying the lives that came before us, the people who shaped us, the stories that formed us, and the hopes that continue through us. May we hold all of this with compassion. May we have the courage to see what is asking to be seen, the humility to release what is not ours to carry, and the wisdom to receive the life that is here now asking to be lived. May this gathering be a place of openness, of listening, of reconnection, and of peace. And may whatever we call the sacred, God, Spirit, love, source, or the mystery that holds us all be present among us. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. So at this time, we'll sing our opening hymn, which is hymn number
226, called Let's Be.
226, Let's Be. Let's get started now today, upward on your way. Let's put seek and find our inner star. Let's go forward in the light, faces shining bright. Sons of God, unlimited are we. Let's prove the truth that sets us free. Let's accept our highest good, knowing we're in brotherhood. Now the good in all we see. Let's don't wait, let's be. All right, well, welcome everybody on this beautiful Sunday morning. My name is Sue Brewer, and I'm the president of the Board of Trustees, and our speaker today is Kremena Popov. If you haven't read about her, she's got her stuff on our website, so that if you wanted to look it up later or have looked it up, good for you. Her speech today is Fate We Inherit, Destiny We Choose. So that'll be an interesting thing to learn about. A few other announcements very quickly. Robert is here. If you want him to do a meditation class or a retreat, you can check with him and see if he's got time, energy, and faith to do it. All right, on Tuesday nights, usually or Monday nights, the book club, Unity Book Club meets. They will be meeting up again on Mondays soon, probably starting in September, do you think? Oh yeah, pretty soon. September? Okay. Couple weeks, September, okay. If you want to get a hold of Rick Yeomans, his phone number or his email address is in our web weekly email. Law of Attraction, they usually meet Tuesday afternoons at 1 o'clock, and also, so Sue Hall, they're also on break. Sue Hall would love to meet with you and talk to you more about the Law of Attraction. Her phone number's in the email address. And she'd love to set up a lunch date or a coffee meetup about the topic of the Law of Attraction. Now, coming up in October, we have to keep this in the back of our minds and bring it forward every now and again. We will be holding our annual meeting at the end of October. At the annual meeting, we will read through what happened over the past year. We'll read the minutes from last year's meeting, all that fun stuff, like a normal old meeting. But part of the important part of the annual meeting is voting. Voting on who is going to be on the board for the next 2 years. So make a point of that in your mind. If you can think of somebody who might be interested in being on the board, or if you yourself are interested in being on the board, please let somebody who's on the board now, like me or Robert or Jean. Also, there are people who are extended board members, which Carol is part of. So if you want to talk to somebody about it, there are lots of people you can ask about how to become a board member. And being a board member means you have to be a member of church. Now, there are so many quick ways to do it. Now, number one, there are forms on the back table, and it basically says who you are, your address, your phone number, the whole 9 yards, and we ask not just new people, but everyone to fill out that form. And you don't have to give us an amount of money that is above your budget or anything. You can give us $1 and become a member. You can give us $1 million to become a member. We wouldn't mind the million. But anyway, so even though you're already a member, fill in the information so that we have it on file, that we know exactly all your pertinent information, like your email and your phone number and your address and your full name, blah, blah, blah. That's the first thing, number one. So not just people who are new, but everyone, please remember. Now, there are a couple of different ways that you can pay for your membership if you want to make more, spend more money on us. There's this Support Our Church card. Some of those should be on the back table as well. These are just like with public radio and public TV, sustaining memberships. And you can choose different levels of how you want to be a sustainer. And you can pay through PayPal or direct deposit or a bunch of other ways. So, there's so many things you can do with that. Now, also, if you are a member and you want to keep donating to your membership, we have our little offering envelopes. So when you put your money in the envelope, you can make a decision. Yes, I want this offering to go towards my membership. So you just put that in there and make sure we know your name. And if not, you don't have to fill that part out. And also, if you have an email change, there's a note where you can place your email just in case. And otherwise, you can just put money in the envelope if you like, for just a donation. So elections, membership, annual meeting. Remember that when you become a member, you become part of the bigger whole, and we need as many parts to the big whole as possible. So please do think about that and for the future. Now, next week, Robert will be speaking, and his title of his speech will be Discovering Your Inner Frog. We kind of know where that's going to be coming from. Yeah. Does anyone else have any other announcements that we need to look into or hear about? Okay, well then let us read our spiritual principles, which you'll find on the white card. Our declaration of principles is at the top of one side. So at this time, we believe God is the eternal source and creator of all and is present in everything. Our eternal soul, endowed with free will, grows through many lifetimes. Communication occurs between the physical and spiritual worlds. Prayer and meditation strengthen our connection to the divine. All healing comes from Source. Seeking this for ourselves and compassion for others' suffering is the highest priority. Because we are all one, what we do unto others, we do unto ourselves. The choice of love is always open for every soul. Living these principles leads us to grow in divine love. Now at this time, if you flip over the little white card, and at the bottom there is a prayer for spiritual healing. The prayer for spiritual healing. I ask the great unseen healing force to remove all obstructions from my mind and body and to restore me to perfect health. I ask this in all sincerity and honesty, and I will do my part. I ask the great unseen healing force to help both present and absent ones who are in need of help, and to restore them to perfect health. We put our trust in the love and power of God. So at this time, do we have any healing requests? Anybody needing prayers today? Looks like you were good.
I would like to ask for continued prayers for my brother Jerry in Texas, who has some dementia and possible Alzheimer's and issues, and his wife, this beautiful lady, she now has some heart issues going on, I found out, and I can't get them on the phone. I need to find out what's going on, so I just ask for prayers and healing for both of them. It's for Jerry and Vicky. Thank you.
Well, everybody needs prayers, right? The entire world. Let's pray for the entire world. Okay. So speaking of healing, could somebody please bring forth the healing bowl? We will have a moment of our musical bowl here, our healing bowl, have a moment of silence, and then we will sing In the Silence, number 74. you know peace of mind. In the silence, your path is paved in gold, and all your dreams unfold. Love is there. Peace is there. Truth is there. God is there.
Okay, good morning again. There is a question I would like to ask you this morning, and it's not exactly a theological question, but it touches on theology. And it's not exactly a psychological question, but it touches on psychology. It's perhaps a human question. What are you carrying that may not have begun with you? Most of us have experienced moments when we pause and quietly wonder, why does this keep happening? Perhaps we find ourselves in the same kind of relationship, the same kind of conflict, or the same feeling of never quite belonging, the same responsibility for everyone else's well-being, or the same fear of abandonment, or the same quiet loneliness. We sincerely want things to be different, and yet something familiar keeps returning. We often assume these patterns belong to us because they have been with us for so long. But what if familiarity is not the same as identity? What if some of what we carry belongs to a story that began long before we arrived here? One of the profound insights that drew me to family constellations is its simple observation that we are not isolated individuals. We belong to families, to lineages, to communities, to stories that belong long before we were born. And whether we realize it or not, we inherit far more than our eye color or the shape of our smile. We inherit ways of relating, ways of protecting ourselves, ways of expressing love, ways of surviving, unspoken griefs, silent loyalties, dreams that were never fulfilled, losses that were never mourned. And we stepped into rivers that have been flowing long before we entered them. This isn't something to fear, it's simply something to become curious about. There is an African philosophy expressed in the word Ubuntu, often translated as I am because we are. And our lives are our own, of course, but none of us came into being alone. We became ourselves in a relationship. We are shaped by those who loved us, those who hurt us, and those who are absent, and even sometimes by people who we never met or we may barely know. The idea of a family system invites us to look into this larger web. A family is not simply a collection of separate individuals living under one roof. It's a network of relationships, loyalties, roles, expectations, memories, and silences. Some things in a family are spoken, others become rules without anyone ever saying them out loud. We don't talk about that. We don't get too close. We don't show weakness. Someone has to keep everyone happy. You take care of your mother. Don't become too successful. Don't leave. These rules may never be written down, and yet somehow, generation after generation, they can continue to shape the way love moves. One of the things I appreciate most about this work is that it doesn't begin with blame. It doesn't ask us to look at our parents and question who's caused this. Instead, it asks a different question. What has been asking to be seen? Because every family has known suffering and every family has known love. And every family has found ways, sometimes beautiful and sometimes painful, to continue moving forward. Family constellations invites us to look not only at the story, but also at the structure. Who belongs? Who has been forgotten? What grief was never acknowledged? What role did someone take that did not really belong to them? And where has the natural order between generations become confused? There is an image from this work I find especially powerful. When we are children, we sometimes try to take on the role of the adults around us. It's as if a small child puts on the clothes of the parents. They slip their feet into their large shoes, and then they try to walk, and of course they stumble. The shoes were never made for them. A child may try to become the emotional partner of a parent, the caretaker, the protector, the peacemaker, the one who carries the mother's sadness or who is responsible for the father's well-being. The one who silently decides, if I am strong enough, everything will be all right. But there is something profoundly difficult about this. A child can love a parent deeply and still not be able to become their parent. When we enter a relationship with a parent as though we are their parent or their partner, something in the natural flow of giving and receiving becomes confused. The child begins to give what she was meant to receive. And often she spends much of her life exhausted without fully understanding why. Children possess an extraordinary capacity for love, perhaps the greatest capacity any of us ever have. A child does not love strategically. A child loves completely. And children are instinctively loyal. If something feels heavy in the family, they often respond in the only way they know. They carry part of it, not because anyone asked them to, but simply because love quietly says, if carrying this helps us stay connected, then I will carry it. Many of the patterns we struggle with as adults may have begun as acts of love, not conscious choices, but acts of love. A child may become anxious because anxiety keeps her alert to the emotional atmosphere around her. A child may become responsible because someone else was unable to carry the full responsibility. A child may remain unsuccessful because succeeding feels somewhere deep inside like leaving the family behind. A child may repeat loneliness because belonging to someone who was lonely feels more important than being happy. Whether or not we understand these patterns through the language of family constellations, I think many of us recognize the experience. Sometimes we remain loyal to something even after it has stopped serving life. That realization changes everything, because once we understand that a pattern may have begun as an act of love or as an expression of love rather than as a personal defect, we can meet it with compassion instead of judgment. Family constellation speaks about several principles that help us look at these patterns. One of them is belonging. Everyone who belongs to the family has a place in its story. Sometimes people become excluded. Sometimes they, because whatever happened was too painful or there is shame surrounding it. There was an early death or an addiction or a divorce or an abortion, a child who died young, a former partner, someone who committed harm, someone everyone decided not to talk about. But silence does not necessarily mean that something disappears from the emotional life of the family. Sometimes what is pushed out of awareness continues to make itself felt in other ways. Family constellations ask us to become curious about what or who has disappeared from view. And not in order to glorify the past or to excuse any harm, but because seeing something is different from pretending it never existed. This is perhaps one reason it's called a constellation. Imagine each member of a family as a star. Each one occupies a particular place, and each one shines with a particular light. And those who come afterward receive something from those who came before. Life itself has been passed forward through an extraordinary chain of people. Our parents, our great-grandparents, our great-grandparents, people who laughed, people who suffered, people who made mistakes, and people who survived things we may never fully know. In a constellation, the stars do not have to become identical in order to belong into the same sky. They remain distinct. And yet, their relationship to one another creates a shape. Sometimes when someone in a family is excluded from the story, it can feel as though a star has disappeared from the constellation. And when something disappears from our awareness, our energy can become strangely organized around its absence. We may find ourselves drawn toward what we do not understand, repeating something, carrying something, trying without knowing it to restore a place that has been lost. The less conscious we are of these entanglements, the more energy may be spent trying to solve a problem whose origins we cannot quite see. And the more energy we spend trying to redo the past, the less energy we have available to live our own lives right now. Another principle is order, not hierarchy in the sense that one person is more valuable than another, but the recognition that generations come in a particular sequence. Parents come before children. Children come after. When the child is able in some way to receive life as something that came through the parents, even if the relationship with them was difficult, there can be a movement towards standing in one's own place. This does not mean approving of everything our parents did. It does not mean denying harm. It does not mean pretending that what was painful was not painful. It simply means recognizing a reality that cannot be changed. They came before us and we came after. There can be a strange humility in that, because sometimes healing begins not with becoming bigger than those who came before us, but with stepping out of roles that were never ours, taking off the oversized shoes and saying, "This is yours and this is mine. I leave with you what belongs to you, and I will carry forward the life that came to me." The third principle is often described as balance, or the movement between giving and receiving. In healthy relationships, love tends to move. We give, we receive, there is reciprocity. But between parents and children, the movement is different. The child begins by receiving. Life is received. And perhaps one of the most difficult movements of adulthood is learning to receive what was given without spending our lives trying to repay our parents by sacrificing ourselves. Because we cannot truly repay them for life. We can only receive it and then do something with it. Perhaps that is one of the ways the gift continues forward. Let me tell you a simple story. There was a child who learned very early that the atmosphere in her home depended on her. Not because anyone told her so, because she felt it. When she was cheerful, things felt lighter. When she was calmer, the arguments sometimes softened. She became very good at reading rooms, at sensing what other people need before they say a word. She grew into a warm, perceptive, generous adult. People felt safe around her. But she was so exhausted in a way she couldn't explain. She didn't know how to stop carrying what was never hers to carry in the first place. One day she realized something that changed her life. The tension she had spent decades trying to manage had existed before she was born. She hadn't created it. She had simply loved deeply enough to carry part of it. Nothing dramatic happened after that realization. She didn't become a different person overnight. She simply stood differently. And for the first time she could remember, the emotional atmosphere around her no longer felt like her responsibility. That to me is the quiet miracle of awareness. Not that it instantly changes our circumstances, but it changes our relationship to them. We stop confusing what we carry with what we are. Every wisdom tradition has its own language for this movement. Some call it remembering, some call it awareness, some call it returning, some call it consciousness, and some call it seeing. The language matters less than the movement itself. We begin by believing that our pattern is our identity. Gradually, we discover something surprising. We are not the pattern. We are the one who can witness it. And that changes our participation. Not because we force ourselves to become different, but because seeing itself has a quiet transformative power. When something hidden becomes visible, it no longer governs us in quite the same way. Awareness creates space, and in that space, freedom begins to appear. But there is something else this work teaches that I find important. Solutions sometimes can be hurtful. That may sound strange. We often imagine that healing means finally getting what we want. But sometimes the solution requires us to let go of an identity. that has organized our entire lives. The rescuer has to stop rescuing. The peacemaker has to allow conflict. The strong one has to admit she's tired. The child who has been carrying the mother has to put the burden down. And that can hurt, because even a burden can become familiar, and even suffering can become part of how we understand who we are. And sometimes the movement toward freedom requires humility. The humility to say, I cannot fix this, I cannot redo the past, I cannot save everyone. I am the child, not the parent. I came later. And perhaps most difficult of all, I will allow myself to have a life. Family constellations is one doorway into this way of seeing. It doesn't tell us who to become. It doesn't ask us to reject our families or rewrite our history. It simply helps us notice the invisible loyalties that may still be shaping our lives. The roles, the exclusions, the grief, the love, the burdens that have traveled quietly from one generation to another. And then it asks with extraordinary tenderness, now that you can see this, does love still need to carry it in the same way? That is the deeper question, because love itself is not the problem. The problem may be the way love sometimes becomes entangled with suffering. The way we say, I love you, therefore I must suffer with you. I love you, therefore I cannot surpass you. I love you, therefore I must carry what you could not carry. There is another possibility. Love can remain without the burden. We can honor those who came before us without repeating their suffering. We can remember without becoming trapped. We can belong without losing our own place. I'd like to leave you with one final thought. You came into this world through a particular family, a particular lineage, a particular story already unfolding. You didn't choose any of it. But you are here today, aware, curious, willing to look beneath the surface. That changes something, because awareness changes participation. Once something hidden becomes visible, we are no longer meeting it in quite the same way. We begin to respond where once we only repeated. We begin to distinguish between love and destiny, between loyalty and destiny, between love and burden, between what belongs to us and what we have simply been carrying for a very long time. Freedom does not mean standing alone, disconnected from everyone who came before us. Freedom means taking our rightful place in the constellation, seeing those who came before, honoring the fact that they belong to the story, receiving the life that came through them, and then turning finally toward the life that is waiting for us. Not to redo the past, not to carry everyone with us, but to add our own light to the sky. Okay. I'm going to do a little meditation in connection to what I just talked about. So if you want to just sit in a comfortable position, and if you feel so, close your eyes. And allow your palms to rest on your thighs, open. Because that is a position of openness and receptivity. And then take 3 deep breaths and close your eyes, if you haven't already done so. Wherever you are in this moment, you are safe, you are protected, and you're supported. At first, all you need to do is connect with your body. Bring your awareness to your body. Feel your feet grounding on the floor. Feel your breath in your legs, your hips, your belly, your chest, your arms, your neck. you face. You're completely connected and aligned with yourself. Notice any tensions or sensations in your body. Just notice them and welcome them. Now visualize your family. Maybe you see only one person for now. Maybe you see 10 or 20. Maybe it's only your parents and your siblings. Just ask your family to join you. As they do, do not place them. Just let them come to you and take whatever place they may. And pay attention to any sensations in your body. Do you want to welcome them? Do you shut them down? Do you want to hide? Do you want to run away? Do you want some distance?
Here you will live to bless. Wonderful, wonderful, fortunate you. This is the year that your dreams come true.
Thanks, Michael. So at this time, grab your little white card one more time, ladies and gentlemen. The church affirmation is on the bottom of the page with the Declaration of Principles. So, we totally accept the belief that God is in charge of the affairs and direction of Lake Superior Interfaith Community Church. As our thoughts of trust and joyful anticipation join in harmony with the thoughts of all members of this fellowship, we attract the right ministerial leadership and people to our spiritual community, and we are grateful. As a benediction, Source Creator, help us in each and every way, each and every day, to find the expression of our soul, to be rewarded in our lives with the flow of abundance, to keep us safe, protected, supported, and have all the benefits of financial security, to help us to continue expressing the highest version of ourselves without fear and without worry. So at this time, let's gather in our circle and sing our final song. Yeah. Yep. Don't play it.
I'm Jerry.